Go.
I'm going to put that bit in.
Yeah, great. Please do. My signature.
Finger guns. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Naked Coach Collective. You're stuck with myself, Ian, this week, and I'm being joined by the wonderful Emma Sandford. Hi, Emma.
My brother was laughing whenever I told you I was coming on this podcast because he was like, "No more nudity, Emma." I put up a picture of me and my mum dipping last week, and he was like, "Stop with the nakedness." It's like not that kind of naked coach. I feel like it's fitting.
You wouldn't be the first to, doubt whether it is actually people getting naked on the podcast. But anyway, we'll swiftly move on.
The next one, chapter 2.
So Emma is a mindset and clarity coach, grew up in Northern Ireland and has basically travelled the world. And we will definitely get into that because I love travelling. But Emma helps people who are struggling with internal conflicts that kind of leaves them feeling almost lost and disconnected with their true self. So Emma, why don't you take it from there? And for our listeners that don't know you, give us a good intro to who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. So yeah, as Ian said, I'm a mindset and clarity coach. So what I do basically is I help people who are stuck. So whether that's they have got to a point in their life where they realize they are not fulfilled and they have no idea what's going on or what they need to do next in order to bring that fulfillment back. Maybe they've already started navigating some kind of big life change, whether that's career change, moving to the other side of the world, which I'm always in support of. Or maybe they just realize that some things in their life aren't bringing them joy anymore, so they want to bring that joy back. And I really love just kind of unlocking that confidence that's inside all of us and bringing that out to show them that not only can they create the life that they want, but that they deserve to have that life.
Amazing. So, give us a bit of your background, because I know this will be fun
Long
for some
story.
listeners.
Well, as Ian said, I grew up in Northern Ireland, and the second I finished school, I was out of there. So I went across to Edinburgh for university, and I was between Edinburgh and Berlin. I did my year abroad in Berlin, best year of my life, and don't drink anymore as a result of that party year, in part. After I finished uni, I headed off. I did a couple of years in Australia. I did 4 years in China. Got to a point in China where I, like the people that I now work with, realized like, what the fuck am I? Can I swear on this podcast?
You can swear, it's fine. I'm not sure my mum listens anymore, so it's all right.
Sorry, mum. She knows what I'm like. I got to a point whenever I was in China, I thought life is great. I've got everything that I thought that I needed in order to have a fulfilling life, but something is not quite aligning. So I woke up one day and I said, I need to quit this, go back to what I loved doing, which was traveling. I was in China for the 4 years of COVID. So I know for most of us, COVID finished after 1 or 2 years, but in China, it really went on until when would it have been? Like 2 Christmases ago. So I really was there for the whole of COVID. I was very fortunate during that time that I didn't really have much of the lockdown or any of the more strict stuff that you kind of saw in the news. But I guess I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm not loving my job so much anymore. Want to get back to what I really love, which is traveling, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But basically, what I did was decided to just take a year off, travel, kind of rediscover what I really wanted from life. Like I very much had like, as I said, like all the external stuff, but I knew internally there was some stuff that I needed to kind of work through. Like I definitely held myself to very high expectations. I kind of fell into an eating disorder. I was setting all these goals for myself. And once I reached them, I just put them aside and then moved on to the next one. So I guess I kind of realized like I need to start learning how to accept where I am now so that regardless of kind of what I'm doing, what I'm achieving, what I'm striving for, I'm comfortable in myself. And I think a main part of that was like finding a home within myself because as I said, I've moved around a lot, but it was more finding like I'm good here, no matter where I am in the world, like inside, everything is aligned and everything is supporting the end goal, which I've been kind of working towards. So, yeah, since I left China, so that would have been last summer. That's a long story, I guess, but yeah, I've been quite a few places since, of which was India. I was in India for 2 times because I left and then I realized what am I doing and I went back again. So I was there for kind of like 12 weeks total, like over those 2 times. And hopefully get to go back there towards the end of this year. But yeah, I've kind of been here, there, and everywhere, mostly Asia. I did a little bit in Europe, which I'm kind of excited to travel more of because I'd not really done Europe because I left as soon as I finished university. But now I'm coming back and seeing, I'm like, wow, Europe. Yeah, I've been sleeping on you a little bit. And I'm excited to
Why not?
travel more of that. Um, yeah, where's next on the cards? I guess I'm going to Albania in September. After I do that, I'm probably going to head back to Europe. So potentially meeting my friend in Thailand start of October. And then I'm really intrigued for Sri Lanka. So yeah, but I'm a very last minute planner, so I'll probably decide that the night before, which would be a classic Emma move because I feel like I'm very overwhelmed by all the options sometimes. So it normally gets until it's like, really need to book my flights, and then I'll book them. But yeah, you
Amazing. I'm not jealous at all.
can do it
So
again.
as you were talking then and describing that kind of journey of reflection that you were going on, do you think that's kind of what you help your clients with now?
100%. Yeah. And I think like a lot of what I bring into it is it's like you don't need to quit your job and move across the world to find your purpose, although 100% support, highly recommend. But it's like, what can I find that I love to bring into my life today? Because, a lot of us think like, oh, it's only whenever I go on holiday that I can actually have fun. It's only when I'm on my days off that I can do what I enjoy. But what I kind of try and help people do is find out really who they actually are at their very core, like beyond all the coping mechanisms and the things that they've kind of developed over time in order to protect themselves to feel safe, to find that person that's underneath all of that bullshit and to find out what does that person want, what makes that person happy. And maybe it is quitting your job and moving across the world, but maybe it's just getting up a little bit earlier in the morning, going for a walk before work because that's what's really important to you. And I think so often we forget what we actually want and what actually is important to us, but it's just kind of reminding you like this is what makes you happy, this is what makes you the best version of yourself, so how can we make a plan to incorporate that into your day. But I think like a lot of it comes from just like having time to get to know yourself and knowing who is the real person, because we all kind of develop this mask, this front, this role that we play in society, like based on our job, based on our degree, based on who our friends are. And so many people, I find they're so busy that they're actually like completely phased out of their life and they've forgotten who they are and what they actually want, and what, aside from the achievements and the things that they've created and the things that they've bought and that they have and that they've made, they don't really know what's behind that. So I kind of help them tap into that. And a lot of what I do is just focusing on that, like, who are you? Who are you when you're doing something that you're passionate about? Who are you? Like the feelings, the beliefs, the emotions behind the achievements, behind the job, behind the money, behind the house.
Yeah, that's really good, and I feel like our kind of journeys have been slightly similar in that I went off traveling for however long it was, a year or just over, and I was on that kind of journey as well of, well, who am I kind of thing. You just need to, and I felt traveling because I love just getting out there and the adventure and the exploration and just finding new places. I really felt that traveling would be that point where I could figure out who I was as a person.
Yeah.
Um, so, what are some of the kind of tips that people who can't afford to go traveling can maybe do to try and start their journey to understand who they are whilst they're still at home? Because, like I said, not everyone can afford to go have the luxury of being able to afford to go traveling.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like a lot of it just comes from doing something new. Like, guarantee if you've grown up in a city, there will be things and places that you've never done before and never been to. So I would bet that you've never been to every restaurant, you've never been to every park, you've never been to every walk that's within an hour's drive of your city. It's just putting yourself in that new situation with new people that you've never spoken to and just seeing how you go with that. Like, the reason that I love traveling is because it gives you an opportunity to introduce yourself to people who don't know anything about you. Like, they don't know where you went to school. They don't know that you were fat 5 years ago. Like, they don't know that you used to be a dickhead whenever you were in university. Like, they don't know anything. So you can introduce yourself as this completely new person. And like, for me, especially moving into coaching, it was really interesting to meet these people and say, like, I'm Emma, I am a coach. Because I think a lot of people, they struggle to embody that identity. And especially coaching, like, it's a little bit of a different job. Like, coming home and explaining to like my parents, friends what I'm doing, like they've not heard of it before. So it's like it's a really great opportunity to just present yourself as whatever you want, because I think people forget that you can choose what your identity is. You can choose who you are. You can choose what's important to you. It's not what's always been. And I think that is the trap that a lot of people fall into who have been in the same place for their whole lives. They have the same friends that they've always had. They go to the same places, like days off, they go to the same things, do the same things, they go to the same walk, go to the same pub. It's very difficult to change in that environment when everybody sees you as what you have always been. So for people who maybe can't travel, I would definitely say, like, try signing up for a class that you've never been to, like try going to something that you've never done before by yourself, not with your best friend or your partner or your family with you. Go by yourself, introduce yourself as someone different. Like, you can completely lie. You can say that you're a lawyer if you want. You can say that you've just moved here from Africa. Like, you can lie, but just try out a few different personalities and see like what feels right to me, what feels really authentic. And I think what I just want to kind of clarify there is this is not like fake it till you make it. And like, I'm not definitely advocating like pretending to be a lawyer if you're not, unless you're into that kind of thing. But I think it's like, a lot of the time we've been playing this role in society, maybe linked to our job, maybe linked to like who we're friends with, for so long that we've forgotten like that's not actually us. So once you
Mm.
kind of get into who you actually are and what is behind that external role that you've created for yourself, then you can start trying to like, what would that person do in this situation? Like, how would that person walk into a room? How would that person introduce themselves to a whole group of new people? And I kind of found like this is work that I had to do by myself, and I had to kind of strip back and find who that person was. And so often you find it's like, this is not something that you're striving for or like a goal that you're trying to reach. This is actually digging into who you really are at your core. So for me, it was like, I want to be more confident. I want to be more proactive. And I was kind of thinking about this and going on this journey. And then I realized I'm not actually going away from myself. I'm going back to the old me. Like when I first finished school, and I was starting to travel. Like I remember once in Hong Kong, I was there by myself just for a 24-hour layover, and I walked into a restaurant. I looked around the restaurant. I saw a table full of people and they were all laughing. And I went and sat down at that table and I was like, guys, I'm here by myself. This looks like a lot of fun. I want to be part of this. And while I was away and while I was in Australia and mainly in China, I really lost touch with who I was, and I started to kind of doubt myself. I started to play small. I feel like my back got pretty bad because I think I was like really hunched over, like trying to hide a little bit because, in China, you're a white face amongst, Chinese, there's so many of them, and you're really standing out. And especially like I would love to go and travel to the places where there are less foreigners. So like you would really stand out there. And I think as a result, I kind of became a little bit more introverted, a little bit more shy, and I was thinking, okay, how can I be more confident? Like, how can I just pretend to be confident in order to be confident? And then I realized, like, oh, I'm actually just bringing back like 2015 Emma energy because she was a fun time and I want to be more like her. So I think like a lot of the time we think we're, faking it till we make it, like trying on this fake persona, but actually it's just you. Like, if you think about when you were a child, you didn't know that there was anything to be embarrassed about. So you were just your confident self. So it's like
Mm.
tapping into that real version of you. And I think if you can't go away, going to something new that you've never been to before and going by yourself, that is so, so powerful when it comes to internal growth, finding out who you really are. Because when people don't know you, you can be anyone. So you may as well try being yourself. And I think what a lot of people find is when you really are yourself in these situations, people love it and you connect with people so much better because there are no preconceptions and you can just completely be who you are, say what you want, laugh and joke in the way that you would if you really were really comfortable. And then that's a really big self-confidence boost because you realize like, people actually like what they see here whenever I'm not reacting to somebody. You know what it's like whenever someone really triggers you and you kind of almost, you approach them like coiled up, like ready to fight with them. But if you've never met this person before, you can just completely be yourself because there is nothing behind that. So I think, yeah, doing something new and just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, that is gold.
I absolutely love what you said there. There was one little thing that you said, which I think if there's going to be one thing people take away from this particular episode is you're not stepping away from yourself, you're going back to who you were. I love
100%.
that.
I kind of
I'm
like it
stealing
like
that, by the
an
way.
onion, and you develop these layers, these skin of like things that you do. coping mechanisms to make you feel safe, to make you feel secure. It's like you protect yourself from pain, from shame, from the different things that you've kind of developed over time. But yeah, it's really getting into your core, like who are you? And if you're always doing the same things, then it's very difficult to find out who that really is, because if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got.
Yeah, exactly. I'm stealing that. Um,
Definitely not taking credit for that one. That did not come from me.
there's something I want to kind of give a distinction to as well. I really don't like the term of when people say "fake it till you make it," because fake, that word of fake, just adds a real negative kind of connotation to what it is
Yeah.
you're trying to do. So there's something I heard a while ago. It might have been with when I was doing the accreditation actually, where they were saying instead of fake it till you make it, it's be it until you see it, which gives people more power to step into what they want to, I think, rather than thinking they're going in there as a bit of a fraud to begin with.
Yeah. And
So
I think
yeah, that's
that
just
kind of from doing the work before. So I think fake it till you make it is a good enough concept, but it's what are you faking and for what reason? So what I do with my clients is before we even try this, like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, like stepping into the new identity, it's like, what is that identity that you're trying to create? And for a while, like, yeah, it will feel fake, because if you have over time become this kind of shy, introverted person that like doesn't want to offend anybody because they're just trying to protect themselves, like to suddenly be confident, yeah, it will feel fake. But so sometimes you do have to put on that confident hat in order to become that confident person of yourself. And it will feel a little bit misaligned. But what you need to make sure that you're doing is doing the pre work to that. So, who do I want to become? What is the identity that I need to embody to create the life that I most desire, based on my core values, based on who I really am behind all that nonsense? And then almost like I kind of teach it like you almost ask them for advice what they would do in this situation. So speaking to your future self, like how would you walk into a room full of people that you don't know? Like what would you do in this situation when someone said that thing to you? So it's not really, it's not fake because it is you, but it's just kind of like an extra boost for yourself to be more yourself until it becomes comfortable again. So
yeah.
I think it's like a fine line and definitely can get caught up in the pedantics of it. But there is an element of fakeness to it, because sometimes you are shitting yourself, but you know that if you want to do what it is that you need to be doing, you need to put on that confident hat and you need to say, right, I'm going to not let all this bullshit in my head stop me from doing that thing, because I know that is one step on the path towards the life that I want. So there is an element of, boosting yourself up, faking it, if you want to put it like that, but it's being clear on what the reason is for doing that. And is that taking you closer to a life that's aligned, or is it taking you further away?
Excellent. And so that kind of leads nicely on to what you do for your clients. So why don't you talk about what I'm assuming you've got a program that you offer.
Yeah.
Take us through that and what that looks like.
So I do mine. I have a kind of rough outline that I talk to people on the call before we get started, but I make it very, very individualized and very, very personalized to the person that is in front of me and what we need to work on based on what they've experienced this week. So we normally start off with a bit of a clarity call that's getting really, really clear on who they are, what they really want out of their life. And that one, I'll spend a lot of time on that question, like what they really want, because a lot of the time what we think we want is a load of shit, and I really do push them to say, what do you actually want? Trying not to swear too much on this. What do you want? And I'll keep asking and I'll keep asking, and they're like, well, I mean, my dad says I should want this, and like, but I always thought, and I'm like, no, 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 no. What do you not have the balls to tell me? What do you want? And then we get to the good stuff. Sometimes it takes a while. So it's who they are, what they want, what they actually need to do in order to create that, and then who do they need to become, that real you, not the fake you, as we just talked about, in order to create that life. We tap into purpose. So I love I can never say it right, ikigai, however you say it. I know we've talked about this one before. That Japanese concept of fusing what you need, or what the world needs, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what you love. So finding that intersection to really dig deep into what you were put on this planet to do. And I love that one. And we also dig into the limiting beliefs, so the different stories and the internal narratives that you tell yourself as to why the life that you want is not possible for you, or why you cannot do the things that you're needed to do to create that life. I love identity reprogramming. So again, that's the fake it till you make it. Like, who do you need to be internally and externally to create the life that you want, aligned with your core values? So this is where we get into like mindset, limiting beliefs, even going as far as like how you dress, how you walk, how you speak, like what you're doing in the morning, in the evening, what are your daily habits, what are your daily routines, basically everything that goes into the identity of who you need to become to achieve your goals and create a life that makes you feel fulfilled, happy, passionate. And we also do kind of goal setting, which I interweave into each and every session. So after each session, they'll set themselves some goals, and there'll be something that we'll work on before the next session. And yeah, as I say, it's like very much tailored to what they come to, what they come to the session with, based on, you know, the homework and the things that we've done in the last session, and then what they say that they want. Because I think so often, and this is a process that I've gone through myself as a coach as well, is like I have this framework, but so often what they actually come to you for, and I'm sure you'll find this as well, Ian, is like they'll come to you with a problem or with a goal, and then once you dig into it, it's like they don't even want that thing. They think
Yeah.
that's what they want, and then you tip into it, and it's like, actually, like, no, what the fuck? Like, that's I don't want that. So that's why I try to like make it very. I have like roughly 15 topics that I kind of like bring in if, as and when we need, but I do try and make it very much based on what they actually want and what they actually need to be doing and what steps they need to do in order to create that.
Excellent. And this is this kind of based on what you did for yourself?
Yes, 100%. And I think this is why it's so funny as well, because while I was on that year off, like I came across a few people and like I love this stuff, right? I love having these conversations. I remember like a few people saying to me like, "Oh, you should be a coach." And I was like, "What's a coach?" Like I don't know what a coach is. Like anyway, la 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 la, just like blissfully unaware. I had a journal, and I did, as part of that year away, I did a sailing trip. We sailed from Fiji to the Solomon Islands. And for any of you who have been on big sailing trips, there's a lot of sitting around and there's a lot of not doing much. So I had a long journal from that trip. And I wrote in one of the pages, I was like, whatever this next step is for me, because on this year I had no job. I was just finding my way and just kind of seeing what I like the look of. And I remember writing like, whatever this next step for me, I need to make sure that I am in my spare time, because I didn't see the correlation between how I could make this a job and just what I enjoy doing. In my spare time, make sure that I am putting a lot of effort into understanding people, because this is again like why I love to travel and why I love to meet new people, is I'm just fascinated by what people what's going on up there. Like I love, and like I think it's funny because like people will be telling me and I'm like, but why? Like what's the reason here? Like, I want to know. And I think that's why I love like places like China and India, because their culture is so different from ours. And I think I remember like the first time going to China and being like, what's going on here? Like, this is not what I was taught in the UK. And like, it's so interesting to me to be like, we were always taught it should be like this. And then I meet these people from other cultures and they're like, no, like it should be like this. And then I see that and I'm like, well, fuck, like it's a choice. Anything that you do in your life is a choice. So I've seen all these different cultures and I'm like, I like this. Not so much that bit, but like I like this part. So like how can I kind of interweave these different parts from all these different cultures and create a life that feels good for me? Because I know like for sure growing up in the UK there were a lot of things and I was like, everyone's kind of agreeing that this is how you should do it, but like it doesn't feel right to me. So I think like that's I forgot where I'm going on this spiel. But anyway, love different cultures, love choosing what you want to do from your life. You're gonna have to bring it back. Forgotten where we're going. We're lost. We're lost.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Um, so tell me about your coaching journey then, because you're very, well, not very, very is the wrong word. You're a newbie coach, shall we
Yeah.
say? And for those that don't know, I know Emma from, I essentially, whilst I was trying to essentially honing my skills as a coach and putting myself out there, I put a message out in a Facebook group, and Emma asking if anybody wanted help with anything, and Emma's like, "Yeah, go on then."
I'll take it all. Yeah.
So
Well,
I've got to see Emma's kind of journey from basically nothing on social media to now absolutely what I would say killing it on social media, and it's just flooded with testimonial after testimonial, and it's so good to see. So why don't you just tell us a bit about your kind of journey as a coach?
yeah. Okay. I know where I was going with the Fiji story. So I was writing in my journal, like, no matter what this next step is, I need to understand people because I love just knowing what makes people tick and why they are doing what they're doing. And as I said, like a couple of people said to me, like, you should be a coach. Or I remember I had a friend and she was learning to be a coach, but I was just like, don't really understand it. Sounds nice, but yeah, not really for me. And then in this year, I really just said, Emma, like my main goal is understand yourself, like find out what is going on up here, what are your patterns, like what you really love, because I've had many different jobs and really enjoyed them all, but I'd never found one that I was like, this is it, like this really fulfills me. And I definitely have a lot of excitement and enjoyment in like learning the ropes. And then as soon as I've learned the ropes and worked my way to the top that I can get, or as high as I can get, I'm like boring, on to the next, on to the next. So I'm kind of looking to see like where's the patterns, like what do I really enjoy, because I definitely just kind of found like just fallen into jobs as I've gone. But I basically realized that I love understanding people. I love learning about people. I love like having a big conversation with someone and then to get a text from them like a week later, like, I did it, Emma. Like, I did that thing that we were talking about. Like, that for me, I would do that every day for the rest of my life for free. And I definitely like did a lot of free stuff as I was just starting off coaching. And I was like, well, I'll start with how I got into it first. So I was in Australia for a couple of months at the start of this year, and I moved in with two friends, and they were in the process of setting up a corporate training business. And Ian will remember all of this because he coached me through a lot of this, all my limiting beliefs that were a part of that. But basically, I very much believe in the universe and things meant to be and synchronicities and all that good stuff. So I arrived in Australia with two friends. I was living with both of them. It was going to be a corporate training business that was offering a mixture of training and coaching on kind of, mindset, productivity, work-life balance, just making people better was the concept, like better emotionally, better in work, better outside of work. And they had Dylan was going to be on the sales, Rosie was going to be on the back of house, and they needed someone to come in and do the training and the coaching. And I was like, hands up, I've been in training for like 10 years. I can definitely help. Sounds amazing. Here I am with all the time in the world, no job, no responsibilities. I have the skills, so it seems perfect. So I kind of got into that. And then they were like, okay, Emma, you need to kind of like search what it is to be a coach and, you know, train up that area, because I'd done a lot of training but not actually coaching, and I didn't really know what coaching was. So I started off on the same program as Ian, doing the Coach Masters. And I remember after I watched one video, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And I started off just on like the very basic membership, just doing like the kind of like free videos and stuff that they had. And I remember watching one of them and they were like, no matter where you are, just start from today. So I was like, I'm just going to start. I was like, no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just going to start. And I called all my friends and I was like, guys, I'm doing this coaching thing. I want to give out free sessions to whoever just to kind of see, like, is this something that I'm good at? And everybody who I called was like, that makes a lot of sense. Coaching. Okay. Yes. Like it. I want to sign up. So I did a lot of coaching, and honestly, I just loved it so much. Like, I didn't even think about doing the monetizing, because in my head, I was like, I'm just honing this skill for this company so that, I can create this and it's just going to be part of that. Like, I didn't even really consider doing it on my own. And then I remember after like a month or so, like the guys sat me down and they were like, Emma, like, love like the energy and the vigor that you're bringing to this, but it kind of seems like you're going to go off on your own route and do this by yourself because it seems a little bit too good. And I was like, no, 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 no. Like, in my head, I was thinking like safety, group, company, or me by myself. I was like, no, 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 guys, like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing it for the company. Like I'm not going to do it by myself. And they were like, okay, like seems a little bit suspicious, but all right. I was like, anyway, I was like, I'm not even charging. I'm just doing it for free. And then like people I was doing it for free with were just coming back for more and more and more. And then I was actually taking on quite a few people. And I was like, maybe it's time that I start, asking them to pay for this. So it kind of worked out that the company didn't happen in the end, like potentially it might happen in the future, but for now not. And I definitely believe that like that came into my life to show me this coaching and give me that kind of push that I had obviously been ignoring, like all these little hints from the universe, like coming up to this point. And so then I started just doing it by myself. And I just had like a couple of clients, like most of them were, as I said, like through people that I knew who had signed on. And I just kind of went for it. Like, even though I was still just kind of learning like the free, I guess it's free content, not really free content, but like the subscription content. And it was like I was possessed. Like I was just like studying every day, all day. Like I would forget to eat. And like anybody who knows me, like I don't forget to eat. Like that is not, that is not, some days it'd be 4 o'clock and I'd be like, the hell, like I forgot to eat lunch today, like I must be onto something because that is not me. So I was just like studying like a crazy person, and I was taking on like as many kind of like free people. I didn't actually yeah, while I was in Australia I didn't take on any paying clients. And then I remember my friend wanted to go to India, and I was like, India, like it's never really been on my list, but like she wanted to go and there's nobody to go with her, and I was like, all right, I'll go. And I was
Go
almost
on
like,
then.
this is going to ruin everything. Like, I'm really loving this like coaching thing. I don't want to go to India. And then I got there and like, oh, wow, India, just so good. If anybody hasn't been, go. It's amazing. Best country in the world. But I went there, and I think like just as I was saying, like that was a really nice way for me to introduce myself to people as a coach. And I'm sure you'll know as well, like whenever you meet new people and introduce yourself as a coach, like they want a little bit of free coaching, and they're like, oh, I've like got this problem. So like it was amazing for me to kind of practice that, like step into that, like, yes, I am a coach, like I can help with some things, like let me know what you're going through and like maybe we can work it out together. And I think that was really nice for me to just be like, I'm very supported in this, and the people who I meet are like, yeah, I see that, it makes sense that you are a coach. Because I'm sure other people who are listening to this who have tried coaching as well, like the imposter syndrome does come in, and you're teaching people to be confident and believe in themselves, but like at the time you're like, I'm a fraud. Like especially for me at the start, like I was just doing the subscription stuff, like I hadn't even got an accreditation. So I was like, I'm not even a coach, like why are these people paying me? And then they're coming back for like another program after they finish the 12 weeks. Like they're gonna find out that I'm just a big fake. And I think like, I don't know, I guess because like we're taught like, you have to work hard to make good money, and like you have to slog away at your job, and like it's not necessarily meant to be something fun. So like for me it was like too good to be true. Like I was like, something is gonna, someone's gonna find me out, or like someone's gonna sue me or something. I was like, it just seems too good. And like after every call I'll get off and I'll be like, that can't be work. Like even now I'm like, I can't believe people are paying me for this because I love it. Like I would honestly do it if something happened and they were like, you can't make money from this anymore. I would keep doing it. Like I really love it. So for me, I think it's just like getting over that imposter syndrome, because I think like I definitely still have it sometimes. And like coming on this, I'm like, oh my god, a podcast! Like I'm not even a coach, but I am a coach. Of course, I'm a coach. I'm doing it. But it's special, and you'll know as well. Like whenever you help someone you know, realize something that they've kind of known all along, but they've not really realized it for like 30 years. Like that for me is like, wow, like love, just love it so much. So good.
It's funny that you say you just kind of just dove in and just consumed everything you possibly could. Because I remember on some of our coaching sessions and give you these tasks like for the week, and then the next day you'd message me, done it.
Ian was like, this will probably take you 2 weeks. I was like, challenge accepted. Up all night. Like, yeah. Honestly, like, it was like I was possessed. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I was like, this information, I need it in here right now. And I think, like, yeah, there's many people, because then I did the accreditation later and I was joining the call with people and they were like, what week are you? And I was like, oh, I'm like week 2. But like, I did actually start this like 5 months ago. because I didn't really see any reason why not to. And I think like you can learn so fast with that attitude. And I think it's hard not to kind of get swept up in like the coaching thing online, because like as soon as you become a coach, the algorithm gives you that and it's like make 10K
Mm,
months and like you can be a millionaire, and like you'll know as well, like coaching master is all about like freedom, like be in your penthouse apartment. And I think like a lot of people a lot of people will get into coaching because they see it as like a big money making thing. So I think it's interesting to
mm,
kind of, that's definitely a field that you have to kind of navigate a little, because I see a lot of people doing it and I'm like, what is the reason that you're doing this? Because it's definitely not to help people. And like, yeah, we'll not get into it so much, but yeah, I just, if anybody is out there like looking for a coach, just make sure, get on a call with them and kind of suss out how much they really care about you and your progress. Because I definitely do see a lot, and you can tell that they're just in it for the money, because it's been painted as like this easy job that you can just do and like clock on, clock off. Like, I don't really see it like that. I don't know what you think about that, but yeah.
exactly the same. Absolutely, exactly the same.
Mhm.
Um, question:
Yeah.
where was your favorite place? I think you said India.
Yeah, India. India is pretty special. I also did go back to China during that time, and like China will always have a very special place in my heart. I do really love it. And I actually just yesterday got through a 2-year tourist visa, which is very exciting, because when I went back at the start of the year, I could only get a 6-day visa, because you have to go all the way back to the UK to apply for a Chinese visa. My favorite country, but there is a lot of bullshit going on there. Um, but yeah, China, it's just so big and there's so much left to explore. Like they have amazing hiking. I love hiking. They have so much good outdoor stuff. It's so cheap. It's so easy to travel. Like the trains and everything are incredible. Just I love, but I also love India. So yeah, China and India both pretty high up there. Sri Lanka, I feel like is going to be a nice kind of. I've heard it very similar to India, but maybe a little bit more accessible for traveling, especially because a lot of the time, like I'll go places by myself, like definitely like meet people along the way, but sometimes the initial travel is alone. So in India, that can be a little bit of a exciting, keeps it exciting. But I hear Sri Lanka is like a little bit more friendly in some places. But yeah, I think
Where's
I just
next on your
really love
list?
places with a culture that is really different to
Mm,
ours, because I'm just like walking around like, wow. And I really love just speaking to people. Like this was one of the main reasons why I learned Chinese, because I was working with these kind of like older women, and I'm like, I have to know what they think about everything that's going on here. I'm like, I need to know. And I'm like, what are you guys doing this weekend? Like, what do you think about this, this, and this? And they're like, oh, can't really say. And I'm like, come on, come on, come on, tell me. So then I feel like the better my Chinese got, the more I can get into these conversations and be like, what's going on here? Someone tell me, because I really need to know. And it really is like a genuine curiosity. Like, I'm like, how do you live your life? And how can I make shifts in my own life to make it all easier? Like, I definitely have a lot of like, play and fun within my own, like I really love routine and I love structure, but obviously I'm like very spontaneous and like love to be here, there, and everywhere as well. So I love to just see how other people are doing it, so I can see what bits that I integrate into mine. So like if the culture is completely different, then I'm like, okay, which bits are serving me, which bits could be a bit more exciting, a bit more fun. So I really love that. And I
amazing.
love like meditation and that whole like spiritual side, so India is really nice for that.
Good. And where's your next destination?
So September, well, where am I now? I'm in England at the minute. I'm staying with a friend. I'll be here for a couple more weeks. Then I'm going to Albania for a couple of weeks in September. I'm coming back to go to Spain just for a weekend with my mum, and then I'll be back to Asia. So China has a public holiday first week in October, so I'm going to be meeting my Chinese friend somewhere, I think in Thailand, and then yeah, if you held the gun to my head and said where you're going, I couldn't tell you, because I'm really not a forward planner. But Sri Lanka definitely is on the list at some point. Would love to go back to India. I have that 2-year visa for China. Also, many other places that I haven't been. South America, I feel like I'm kind of almost putting it off, because I'm like, I know I'm gonna love it, and it's a big place, so I need a lot of time. So yeah, I don't know. Now I'm doing this. If it has Wi-Fi, I'll put it on the list.
Exactly. You can go anywhere you want.
Anywhere.
Um, so tell us how people can get hold of you.
So my main thing is Instagram. I definitely tried to do the Facebook at the start, but yeah, Facebook is past. And and I'm really very much just like focus on one thing. Like TikTok is still there, but I feel too old for TikTok. I feel too young for Facebook. So Instagram, that's where you'll find me. My ad on Instagram is EJ Sandford. So Sandford. That's my surname. So EJ Sandford on Instagram. That's where most of my stuff goes on.
Excellent, thank you. And is there anything you want to um, tell our audience about that you've got going on?
I would love to. So I've actually created something very special for the listeners of this podcast, and it's a manifestation workbook. And before you say manifestation, woo woo, whatever, this is a little bit different from the manifestation that you'll maybe see or you might maybe heard of. So I know, like, for a lot of people, manifestation is just like visualizing the goal over and over and over again and just hoping that by some miracle you will achieve that goal. But the way I've done it is kind of fused in a lot of like neuroscience, neuroplasticity, like goal setting coaching. It's almost like you can coach yourself to the goal. So we kind of get clear on what the goal is. We bring in elements like visualization, but it's also like, what exactly do you need to do to create this goal? And how can you visualize every step, every obstacle, every challenge that you could face? Visualize yourself overcoming that, put a plan in place to overcome that, and then be able to manifest your goals. So it's a little bit of a twist, I guess, on the classic manifestation, but it's definitely very, very helpful. And if you have something that you are working towards, but you kind of find that you're getting stuck or falling back into old patterns on the way to that, this workbook will be very, very helpful for you. So if that is something that you think would be useful for you, you can just send me a message on Instagram and I'll send that straight to your inbox.
Excellent, thank you very much. And we'll put the link out for you Instagram as well, because if anyone's like me, they've forgot already what you said.
Perfect. Yeah, my surname is not an easy one to remember. So yeah, link it for them. That'll be great.
All right. Anything else before we call it a wrap?
No, I think that was great. Thank you so much, Ian. Thanks for having me. Next time I'll come naked and then be a little bit more on topic.